Welcome, one and all, to another LinkedIn Live broadcast brought to you by A Place at Home Senior Care Franchising. My name is Mitch Benson, and I'm the Franchise Development Manager here. And I am joined by President and Co-founder, Mr. Jared Evanich. How's it going, Jared?
It's going well, Mitch. Thanks for asking. Glad to be here with you today.
Right on. Well, we're nearing halfway through July, but this is our first LinkedIn Live of this month. Exactly 1 week ago was 4th of July. Did you have a good 4th?
Excellent 4th. Explosive.
Very dynamic, very explosive 4th. Yeah. I'll have to share this on LinkedIn. This is something I haven't mentioned to you guys, but I was playing on stage outside of work, I'm a musician, and we had one rogue artillery shell literally like buzz my guitar player over his shoulder. We got it on video. It's a lot of fun. So expect some of that stuff. But I came back with all 10 fingers. I know you have them too. So we're all good.
I do. Amy did get burned, though. We had a firework that shot out the side versus out the top right into the crowd.
No!
Yep. So she got a little burn. It's basically healed by now. I'm just glad it didn't hit the table of fireworks. That would have been a whole other story.
Literally all the other explosives. We have some friends that we were able to spend some time with who had, like kind of a gasoline drum like in their garage to top off lawnmowers and other implements. And that was the main thing. Like, guys, take 10 steps away from this bucket of gas, and then you can light your fireworks. So that was a lot of fun. But while we're sitting there enjoying freedom, celebrating America, I'm just thinking to myself, I can't wait to get back to LinkedIn Live with Jared.
That's right.
Full circle. I feel at peace. I feel centered now that we're here. And we have such an exciting topic to discuss, because I think a lot of folks interchange some words or just kind of have this overall feeling that says, look, I'm paying a franchisor a bunch of money. Maybe I'm not getting it. Maybe this is the thing that's keeping me from joining a franchise. And it very well may. It may not fit your work style or the goals you have for your entrepreneurial journey, but it shouldn't be based on confusion or a misconception, right? What we're going to discuss today, our main topic for this week, is about franchise royalty fees, and are they negotiable, right? This, to me, is a wealth of information that can help kind of illuminate some areas that we might think we know or have a feeling about, and maybe by the end we have even more clarity about it, right? So I'd love to just kind of talk a little bit more about franchise royalty fees, understand what they are. I'd love to spend time on why franchisors ask their franchisees to pay these things, right? Why do we do this? And then we'll get to the ever important piece of our topic is, are they negotiable? Can you strike a deal in the back room with Jared to say, look, I'm going to cut my franchise royalty fees? Maybe, maybe not. We'll hear about it at the end of this call. But let's start. Let's just get some definitions out of the way. And Jared, I'd love to ask you, like I did 3 years ago, learning about these things for the first time. What is this stuff, Jared? What is a franchise royalty fee?
So in the most simplest of definition, it is an ongoing payment to use the franchisor's marketing, systems, and support. Mm-hmm. Right? There's so much that goes into even just those three things that we could, spend days describing all that one gets by paying a royalty. And that's a lot of times the question that we get, what do I get for all these royalties that I'm paying? Well, you get your marketing, your systems, and your support. And no two brands are alike. That could look very different from different brands. And I would say those brands that, really bring a lot of content, support, back channel systems, administrative support, marketing support, those are the ones that people in that system, they're not going to think twice about paying a royalty. That is such a value add to them that they are thankful and of that portion of essentially their revenue going towards that support. The location or the brands that may hand you a manual and say, see in 5 to 10 years when we renew, that's when you start really questioning, what are these royalty fees really for, right? And so there's a few different ends of the spectrum, but on the same regard as different ends of the spectrum of what you get Also, just the range of what the fee cost is.
Mm,
In
mm,
general, you are going to be seeing, first off, a percentage of your revenue that is going to go towards your royalty fees. Now, royalty fees kind of can fit into numerous different buckets and ranges, all the way down to zero. There actually are some franchise slash semi-franchise systems, and Mitch, we were talking about this before jumping on, but like a
mhm,
vending machine to where you may pay 0% royalties. However, there are other fees associated with the machines that you're purchasing, as well as the supplies and the goods that you were
mhm,
purchasing from the franchisor. So the markup could be in other areas. So just kind of a different way of classifying what those royalties are versus a percentage of the goods that they're purchasing from you, right? So that may be like your lowest
mhm,
range, right? But in general, when you're looking at more brands that you do have, whether it be service related or whether it be retail related, where you're going to see more of a fluctuation anywhere ranging from usually between like 4 to 12%. And
mhm,
on those higher side volumes, um, I would say, or the higher royalty, the higher the royalty is usually in the markets that have the highest profits,
mhm,
right? We want to make sure that as a brand, that our owners are seeing really solid profits, right?
mhm,
Or else why would they franchise? Why would they have a business if they're not at the end of the day making some profit? But you usually when there's not a ton of infrastructure, like build outs, building a McDonald's, right, and everything that goes on top, and all the inventory and things like that. If
mhm,
it's more consultative in nature,
mm,
usually thus lower operating expenses, meaning higher net profit. The
mhm,
higher profit would then usually equal a higher royalty back to the franchisee, if that makes sense,
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
right? And then on the
Mhm,
lower side, right, if you're in that roughly 4% range, 4 to kind of 6% range, that's where you're going to see a lot of service related industries as
mhm,
well, like a place at home, a lot of home care businesses,
mhm,
things like that. And then also even restaurants, right?
mhm.
And it's usually the higher revenue businesses.
Mhm. Exactly. And I like that the higher, average unit volumes or top line revenues, things like that too, can give folks a sense of what that royalty may be, right? There's always going to be some element of support that you're getting, whether it's tangible coaching, a supply chain, something like that, and that can have an impact on what you're ultimately paying monthly, right?
Mhm.
And I would say some of the best ways to understand what all of these are is listening to, of course, folks in the industry like ourselves. But you may ask yourself, what's the royalty fee for a modernized traveling tailor service? What's up, Nathan Pierce in the comments? Best way to find out is to communicate with those brands and ask them about it, right? And you're going to see what kind of where on the spectrum they may be and some uniqueness about that. Maybe they have supply chain or maybe they don't. Maybe that's one of the things that a particular tailoring service may work for you, right? It's a beautiful opportunity to get closer to those brands and understand just what the fees are. Where do you sit on the spectrum, right? And ultimately you get that chance to kind of hear, Jared, what you were talking about too, whereas maybe consultative higher profit margin concepts end up having higher total revenues and excuse me, higher royalty fees versus service-based, restaurant-based, food-based concepts with higher dollar amounts, lower profits overall. Those royalties seem to be lower. Then you find the home services sector that's right there, best of both worlds, right? Ultimately, higher profits, higher dollar amounts, right? Being able to generate that opportunity through this concept, but lower royalty fees, right? Generally speaking, you see all that together here at a place at home, right? Uh, but I always like to, kind of joke with candidates on the phone with me after we end up talking about this. We start talking a lot about what they're giving to the franchisor, like what are you paying for all these dollars out of your pocket. And it's not lost on me that we spend a lot of time there. This is a large investment, like any franchise. Uh, but it's time now to kind of dive into a little bit too about, you know, uh, where all of those dollars and cents go, because I think a lot of our candidates tend to get overwhelmed maybe with with all the terminology here, right?
Right.
And the number one thing I hear all the time is like, okay, so the franchise fees, right? That's the monthly fee. That's what you're talking about with the support, right? And I want to help us all here on the call kind of differentiate these two terms, right? Jared, we heard from our royalty fees, right? But can you contrast that with our franchise fee? What is that franchise fee?
Right. So the franchise fee is a one-time upfront fee, and that is going to basically purchase the right of either a geographical or a population-based area,
Mm.
and then within that area to be able to utilize the intellectual property. Right. It kind of unlocks that brand's intellectual property for that owner. But also on top of that, it covers the initial expenses for training.
Mm.
Right. So in order for the franchisor, right, or the corporate support to be able to help that individual get off the ground, and we're talking depending on the industry, right, but there are things that could lengthen it, like licensure process and build outs, and but there is a period of time where there's no revenue coming in, right, and
Mm.
if there's no revenue coming in, there's no royalties coming in.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no royalties coming in, the corporate office, the franchisor is not able to collect. So that's all money going out. Every minute, every dollar that we spend to get that location up and running is straight out of pocket. So it very much correlates to that initial upfront support to get that location up and running.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's, if we're sitting at the table kind of vetting this opportunity for us, should we decide to buy a place at home, like Natalie Watts did, worked out for her. Thanks for the comment. If we start to think of that, we need to know what that kind of capital outlay looks like up front, right? What is this kind of one-time fee that I'm going to incur? And then what can I expect to kind of keep it going, right? And so far we've seen what the franchise or what the brand is expecting of us, and we start to kind of move into this area where we start to ask questions about what we expect from the franchisor. Having heard royalty, knowing what a franchise fee is, also everyone on the call knowing that these roll up into an initial investment, the total dollar amount to start this business, we get to start saying, okay, what kind of returns might we see on this investment? What am I getting for this? Jared, you alluded to it earlier, right? It's our marketing, our systems, and our support. But I always like to kind of ask this question, like, why do I pay these royalties, right? And when I think of that, I think of it's to leverage franchisor expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with you? Kind of when someone says, "Why am I paying this royalty?" Well, it's to use what we've developed and continue to move forward for you. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that most certainly should be a reason why you continue to pay. Again, I can't speak for every brand out there. The ones who hand you the manual and say, talk to you in 10 years, it's a different story. However, you should be utilizing, kind of unlocking the expertise of those who have been there, they've done it, they've opened multiple locations, usually regionally or across the United States, sometimes internationally, and learn from every one of those experiences. Right. When Dustin DeStefano and I launched this business, we didn't have anyone telling us what to do, what not to do. We learned by trial and error. Right. And we had a lot of error. The more errors, the more time, the more errors, the more money that it takes to get to where you need to go. So very much so, all of that comes in the form of coaching. It comes in forms of processes. It comes in forms of policies that help the owners streamline and get to that not only launch point, but get to that break-even point and get to that profitability point that they're looking for, right? We want to get them there as fast as possible. So very much leverage our expertise in your business, not only from day one, but ongoing, right? Most certainly ongoing to continue, because people hit different checkpoints, right? There may be someone that says, oh, hey, do I have to continue to pay these? Well, depends. Like, do you want to continue to grow? Do you want continued support? Because for every owner who may at one point think that they are no longer need support, I'll tell you what, give them a few months and they're come knocking on the door. Well, how do I get to this next level? How do I open my next location? How do I get that next level of employee hired? Who is that level, that next level of employee? What am I looking for? What should they be doing? What should I be doing? Right? The learning doesn't stop. So the coaching doesn't stop. And so most certainly that is why you're paying for that. Of course, also technology investment, corporate office expansion investment, right? The more corporate office structure that we have, the more support that we can provide to our owners.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as we're seeing quite a few of our owners here today making some comments, right? They're going to be the reason. They're going to be the reason as to why people are willing to pay them, because they can validate to saying, we pay these, we see the value in these, and you should see the value in these too, to somebody who's considering franchise ownership.
It's huge, right? It's so much of our due diligence process as an individual investigating franchise ownership comes from development teams. Of course, this is the development team for here at A Place at Home. And we share a lot of information in a comfortable way to get you to understand what we intend this business to look like, especially from a royalty fee perspective. But folks are actively paying those dollars, and they have feelings as to whether or not that investment has returned for them. And bunch of them are in our comments today. All of them are available to our candidates coming through this process. So that's a great way to check, right? Is this something that you would continue to pay? Is this something that you've seen help your business? And Jared, in the example you gave, when there's a question, an issue coming up, right? There's a team full of folks in Omaha, Nebraska that are excited to hop on that opportunity to solve something in our owner's business. And I always like to say too, continued coaching is a fun opportunity to see what those royalty dollars can get you as your business. As our franchise system grows with some of our mature franchisees, that coaching also grows, right? What is your business like when we hit multiple locations, right? What is your business like when you have multiple employees in leadership positions, right? That we can start to train and inspire and instill with the motivation that you, the owner, had. Right? Again, that's a whole nother opportunity for our leadership here in the corporate office to help you with that, right? And just like our businesses within the system continue to grow, bringing people aboard, right? That's what your franchise corporate location gets to do as well. Your corporate, the office, right? With these royalty fees, you get to see that brand grow and more folks enter into the system, more hands on deck, right? These are all ways that you eventually get that value back from your royalty fees, from your royalty dollars, right? In immediate coaching, where folks are solving problems and helping your business grow, through longer term expansions of the brand and betterment of your corporate office that can ultimately grow your business, as well as a robust corporate structure that can help potentially an exit of your business. When selling that on the back end, someone's looking at what these royalties for years have paid for and what they've built. They're excited to join the system after you've sold your business. All of these can happen, right? So with all of that understanding, right, I still understand there's folks out there that say, Jared, Mitch, it's all fine and good. But still, can we work on these royalties? Can we cut them a little bit? Can we negotiate? Can I avoid this? Do I have to do this, right? And for that, right, Jared, I'll ask you, can we just avoid paying royalty fees?
No.
No.
I mean, it's, again, if we didn't see the value in what we're providing, yeah, of course, let's negotiate. But we know the value that is provided, at least here, at A Place at Home. And just like any good business owner would, protect their bill rate, right? Because they know the value that their customers are getting, or their products, and the price of their product, and not cutting rate or cutting the price in their products. We see the value in what we're providing to our owners, right? So no. However, we do try to lighten the blow a little bit. And here at A Place at Home, we do something that is very unique and it is seen very little in franchising, but we have a de-escalating royalty structure, right? We're actually paying, our franchisees are paying 5.5% up to a certain point, right? And this is on a monthly annualized basis, right? So what you make in a month times 12, that number, right, is where we base this criteria on. First checkpoint, million, right? So when someone hits that million number, that's 83,333 in revenue a month, right? We're de-escalating. We're going from 5.5% down to 5. When someone hits 1.5 million monthly, or 125,000 monthly annualized, or 125,000 in 1 month, we're dropping it again from 5 to 4.5%. right? This motivates our owners to grow, right? This right sizes really where our royalties are within the industry, which at the end will be lower than a lot of our competition should they continue to grow and hit those checkpoints. But lastly, with that de-escalating structure, it allows us to, when that owner is making more and more and more, to just take a little bit less from that chunk. Because I've had multiple people say, hey, why would you take more royalties when I'm a brand new business? Wouldn't you rather charge lower royalties when I'm new and higher royalties later on? Say, sure, if you want that deal, I can write it into your franchise agreement. I'll take
negotiate that
2% of zero, and when you're making $2 million, I'll take 10%. Sure, we'll escalate it as far as you want. No, but if that makes sense, right? Like this allows us to kind of right size and be able to motivate not only the franchise owners, but get them to a place where they're excited and how they've kind of minimized their royalties.
Yeah, it's huge, right? To see that the de-escalating nature of what you guys have designed for years ago in a place at home is coming back to the definition of what a royalty fee is, right? It's ongoing payments to use the franchisor's marketing, the systems, and support. You guys saw that in the earliest days, right? We would need to use more of that. It's so critical to have that fire start right away in the business and get going. But that's why those royalties begin at 5.5%. But as time goes on, it's not that you will need less, it's that the game changes. And so we want to take less, right? That from that opportunity when you're $1.5 million in top line revenue, which is huge for our industries, huge for home services brands, right? That's when we get down to 4.5% for a royalty. And if you're taking notes at home, you heard that the current range of royalties is 4% up to 12%. Sounds a whole lot like a place at home is one of potentially the lowest royalty fees out there, given your performance metrics, right? That is something really exciting for us and something we strive for in all our owners. That's where we want to hit. That gives us a roadmap and a goal and what defines our final stage of care track, right? That is essentially might be a care pro status, right? That's ultimately what we're after here. And who knows, the math itself could continue to go on and on, right? I'm excited to see what $10 million businesses could do, right? And this ultimately is logic. That's what we're after, is to see that this grows, right? In other industries and other brands, there could be negotiations had on royalty fees. I encourage you to keep an open mind and ask why they might be available to negotiate royalty fees. Not skeptical, just keep an open mind and ask why.
Sure.
Lots of reasons could be. Certain markets need to get opened with more importance or more support right off the bat. Perhaps any number of veteran discounts that are typically on franchise fees could also apply here to royalties. Or you have opportunities like what a place at home has developed in de-escalation so that we're incentivizing growth, right? That's what we're after there. But at the end of the day, it's for support, it's for systems, it's for marketing. So long as we want that as business owners, so long as corporate offices want to continue to develop that, right? These are fees that will help in this business, right? Jared, I think we've talked a lot about all of this, and I really enjoy this. I have some final thoughts here, but before I share that, I would like to ask you, after hearing definitions, why to pay these things, right? And ultimately, if there's any wiggle room here, any final thoughts for folks who may be considering franchise ownership when it comes to royalties?
I think we hit on a lot of the really key aspects. I would say that take the knowledge from the brand, from the franchise, take what they have learned and not make those same mistakes.
Yeah.
That alone in time and money is going to be a drop in the bucket compared to the royalties you will be spending. Secondly, as you continue to grow, it's a great thing. With growth comes struggle and opportunity, right? More money, more problems.
Yeah.
More money, more problems, right? The age-old saying, more money, more problems. So as you continue to grow, Your problems change. It's different on how it looks. A lot of the conversations we have with our more seasoned owners is more so, how am I going to work on the business versus in the business? How am I going to be more of a leader than more of, again, really just in the business? How am I going to be able to support not only one office but multiple offices? But as you can see, as you grow, those conversations change, and so the support needs to change with it. And although you may have a higher revenue number and thus higher royalty payment, it's much more in the value that you're getting within those higher level discussions and those higher level problems that you're helping them solve. And if a brand is doing that right, if their coaching and their support is valued, then you won't have any problem. Anybody out there who's looking to invest in any franchise and start any franchise, once you start validating and talking to the owners, they're going to tell you the same, right? We pay the royalty. We have no problem paying with the royalty because we see the value in it.
Huge, right? I think that's a wonderful place to leave it, right? If it's working, you're going to hear about it, right? Get with brands that you're interested in, ask them questions, go through their processes, do your due diligence, have that chance to speak with folks who are in the driver's seat right now and ask them questions about the fees that might be giving you pause. If that sounds like what you need to hear and get excited about this business, just like Jared has said, you're going to hear it. You're going to be excited and get ready to roll. And in a business like ours, people at the other end of this service, the folks who need what we can do for them, are going to be especially served. So thank you so much for our LinkedIn audience. Thank you for all our franchisees in the comments, right? Thank you, Nathan Pierce. Go check out Pierce Bespoke. It's a wonderful brand. Check it out. And we appreciate everybody spending their Tuesday with us, getting back into the swing of things after some fun holidays. And please join us here next week, where the dynamic development duo is going to be back. I'm here with Jared to talk about why senior care franchises are one of the fastest growing franchises in the franchise industry. We got all sorts of goodies to share with you, some things that you've heard before, some things that maybe you hadn't considered before. So tune in next week for that conversation. We're excited to see you, right?
You bet. Another shout out. Thanks again, Rick, Charletta, Natalie, Doretta, for joining of our franchisees and some of their staff, as well as Nathan. Appreciate your comments. Anybody out there who's looking into franchising, feel free to reach out to Mitch Benson or anybody here at A Place at Home, and we will most certainly get you taken care of in any of your questions. So thanks again for joining us today.
See you guys.